Page 56, Dry Bones. We have quite an interesting thing going on here. Good luck with this piece. At the top of page 56, they're introducing you to the A flat major scale. You've had E flat major with 3 flats. Well, A flat major has 4 flats. So the B flat is always first, E flat is always second, A flat is always third. Now we're adding the D flat. We got all the flats except for the G flat. I'm sure that's coming. So it's time to go do my scale video on A flat major. Learn it 1 octave up and down. And while you're there, go ahead and do the F minor, because it also has 4 flats. Learn it 1 octave up and down. I'm sure they'll get to F minor eventually. You just as well do it now. Now in Dry Bones, it starts out in A flat major, but it's going to go to different key signatures. They're not changing the key signature necessarily in the music, although sometimes they do, but a lot of times they're just using accidentals to do it, and we'll get there. So I'm going to play everything connected at first, and normally I do it 1 hand at a time, but to shorten this video I'm going to kind of cover both hands because this video will last. See, the problem with giving lessons on the music gets difficult like this is the lesson could easily last an hour. I bore me. I don't want to talk that long. So I'm going to shorten it up a little bit. But when I start learning a piece of music, I do it 1 hand at a time first, and then I put the hands together. So start it here, pickup beat, and 4 and 1. Let's go real slow, and I'm going to connect everything right now. And I do a 1-4 here because in the next measure I got this. And I can cover all of these notes in these first 2 measures pretty much in this position. And that's the position. I mean, it's just a chord, and that's fingering for it, so that's what I use. I use 4th finger on the A flat, so it's 3rd finger. Remember, we're on A flats, it's D flat. And I use 2nd finger on the G. You can use 3rd if you want. Because again, that's the chord and that's the fingering I use. Again, 2. I don't want to be moving around. So I cover all these in 1 hand position. Top of page 57, 3rd measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I mean, you can tell where the beats are because the left hand's playing quarter notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, going from the first line to the 2nd line on page 57 in the left hand. I don't want to go from here to here. Bad idea. So I'm going to use 3rd finger. It's like I'm playing this chord. So the 3rd finger, and then I can come up. There. So again, the last measure, the first line is here. This is nice wrist action here. Now I use a 2, I go from here to here. We just went up a 1/2 step. We just changed keys, believe it or not. And then here, 3rd line, I'm in this position. 2, and then here, 4. We went up a 1/2 step again. And I stay on 4th finger on that last note on the 3rd line because I want to use 2-5 for the next one. Here, we're going up another 1/2 step. So, here. And they want you to go here. Well, that puts my hand up in here and I don't want to be there, so I'm going to use this. So the last measure, the 3rd line. Now I'm up here, I don't have a choice. Now we're back to C major. You get the idea? So we just went up half step at a time, and in fact, we changed key signatures. But we didn't really change key signatures in the piece until we got to C major, and they put in 4 natural signs to erase the 4 flats. So now we're in C major at the top of page 58. I'm using here is the same fingering I was using on the other pages. It's like in the left hand and it's here. And it's all this. I don't want to explain the fingering all over again. It's the same fingering, and each time I get these, I'm fingering in a way I can cover both chords in one hand position. And I do that throughout the whole thing. Now we're going to go down half steps here. Here. Top of page 59, we're back in A flat major again, here. So let's go down to the bottom of page 59, the last 2 lines are here. Now here, it's this chord, but it's broken. And I use 4th finger, you can use 3rd finger if you want. I prefer 4th. Last line, it's this chord, broken. Broken octaves. That's an A flat at the end. So just there, it keeps you entertained because now the right hand's just got long notes. Ugh, how boring is that? Then once you have that, then go back and get rid of the hesitations. Now, if you want, you can take it, and again, this is a rather long piece. You can learn it one section at a time. For instance, if you look on page 57, and the 4th line down, right before the last measure, the key change, there's a double bars. That's an indication of you're finishing one section and you're starting a new one. So when you learn it, just concentrate on the first section. And then when you have that, then go down there where it's in C major and concentrate on that section. And eventually, it'll show you back on the next page, or whatever, you go back into A flat major. So you can break a long piece up into little pieces and concentrate on the little pieces. What usually happens, well, I've done it, most everybody's done it, you know you've done it, is you just take the whole thing in one shot. You just keep going through it over and over and over. The problem is you don't always get through the whole piece when you're practicing it. So what happens is the first part of the piece gets a lot of practice because you always start at the beginning and practice it. But then as you get through it, later on, that doesn't get nearly as much practice because you don't always get that far. And that's a serious error. And you can tell when you're listening to somebody if they practice that way, because as they're progressing, they'll start out really wonderful. And as they go through the piece, they get worse and worse and worse. Start missing notes and hesitating and things. They don't know it. And that's because they've always practiced it from beginning to however far they got. And so the first part of the piece got lots of practice, and the last part of the piece got very little. So if you'd break it up a section at a time, just focus on one section and get it. And the next time, do the next section. Don't do the first section again. Put it aside. Focus on the second section and get it. And then the third section and so forth. Then when you get them all, then you go back and put it all together. And you'll find you'll be able to get through it all pretty well. This is what I recommend. But that takes a lot of self-discipline, and I didn't have that kind of self-discipline until I was in college and I was forced to do it. Do it. We were not allowed to play wrong notes in college, and I typically play wrong notes all the time. Most everybody does. It's part of the game. But no, everything had to be note perfect, and everything had to be just right. Then articulation. They have a note there at the bottom at the beginning of this. All bass notes staccato. Nice light wrist staccato. It's a big reason why there's no pedal in this, because we want to hear the staccato. But in the right hand, it's not. When you have an accent, with a staccato. Good luck with that. But so again. Now here, when I have notes that are next to each other like this, I tend to connect them. But you can play them staccato if you want. I like the difference in the sound. I like some contrast in there. So on those, I'll probably connect them when they're next to each other. So anyway, I don't want to play it all for you. Just go through and add in the staccatos and the accents and this stuff like so. Starts out very soft. We're going to go from very soft to very loud. It's going to go all over the place here. But that's soft, and these accented, they go up to maybe soft. They're a little louder than very soft, but they're still on the soft side. Left has to be very super duper soft. And then top of page 57, second measure, you're up to so forth. Then at the end of the line, come down. Back to very soft. Go up to soft, just a little louder, not much. A little louder. A little louder. You see, each time we go up a half step, we get a little louder. And then finally, at the end of the fourth line, you're loud. And you get to C major. The left hand is still way in the background. Now, at the bottom of the page, you're very loud. So forth. Then on pages 58 and 59, you're going to gradually come back down to over on page 59. When you go back into A flat, you're soft here at the top of the page at the key signature change there. At the end of the second line, you go down to very soft. Then you go back on the maestoso at the bottom. Now you go back to very loud, and maestoso means majestic. You're going to slow this down a little bit. Separate those notes with the accent. That you're very loud there. Keep the left hand in the background. It only goes up to about a loud or to a moderately loud in that area. It's the right hand that's very loud. Then they're saying we can play this in a swing style, which means we're going to swing the counting for the eighth notes. Instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. This is felt. So all the eighth notes are going to be swung. So it's 1 and 2. Go over to page 57, second line here. See? So don't get too fast here, or those short notes are too short. That's going to hold you back speed-wise. Now, if you're playing this for people and you have a page turn, you got to be able to turn the page without messing up the rhythm. The rhythm has to go on. Hopefully, maybe somebody will turn the page for you. Better, you just memorize it and you don't have to worry about it. But otherwise, I suggest at the bottom of page 57, you're here. You're not doing anything but holding that down. I suggest maybe you play that like a quarter note. And then as you're doing this, quickly turn the page. Because otherwise, you got to leave out notes. And would prefer not to leave out notes, so I can cut the dotted half note short, put in some rests, and that gives me time to turn the page. We do the best we can with page turns. And we practice page turns too if we have to. Get to where you can make the page turn quickly without messing up the beat. Because when you're playing in one hand and doing this motion in the other, or whichever, that's a little confusing sometimes, so you have to practice that. times in music whenever you change tempos, like we do here at the bottom of page 59 when we do it maestoso. Maestoso is slower than we were doing before. You can put in a little retard and blend into the new tempo. Rather than go one tempo and then suddenly change to another tempo, sometimes that's good for the effect, but sometimes you don't want to do that. So maybe on the second measure of page, on that line, this is the last two lines on page 59, the first line you're at speed. Now on the second measure start slowing down. So I'm already there, you know, it's not all of a sudden. There are two different effects. It's part of interpreting music. You have to decide what you like. So you experiment with both and decide what you would prefer to do. I'll do it different every time I play it, so who knows what I'm going to do. But you decide how you like it, or your teacher will tell you how you like it, and that's fine too.